take a plane to another plane, to another plane, to another plane, bumping Baka not nice while I'm trapping in the rain. Good, man. I love the bookshelf behind you there. It's very studious.
The sweater,
it's funny. The sweater, the haircut, everything, man. You're killing it.
All for the podcast. I shaved my neck beard for the first time in months just now.
Yeah,
that's why I need to bump this back to 9:30.
Yeah. You were in shambles as of an hour ago, eh?
I was a wreck.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's good to see you do it well. I just added Ben as a contact.
Right.
I probably should have done that a little bit earlier, but
that's all right.
Either way, this is recording now. There's no
so
live.
We're tripping balls officially?
We're tripping balls. There's no live component to this, but I usually don't edit anything out.
Right.
But if you do want me to edit anything out, just let me know.
Will do.
How the fuck? Oh, invite. Yeah, there you go. Ben S. Boom. Ben has been invited. So while we're waiting on that, I'll do the little introduction. This is, I believe, episode number 9 of Ezza Trips Balls. Oh yeah, man. It's been a journey. It's been a journey through a pandemic. It's been very strange. Today I have with me, oh shit. I'm about to have with me Crabrat. And right on cue, there is Ben.
Speakeasy.
So I believe now Speakeasy is in the motherfucking house. What up, man? Do we have his audio here? It usually takes a couple seconds.
Yeah, I can hear you.
There we go. All right, I got you now. We're good.
Word. Nice.
Fantastic. Welcome.
Yeah.
So as I was saying, this is episode number 9 of Ezza Trips Balls. It is a goddamn pleasure to have both members of Crabrat, Jack Shitt and Speakeasy, on the show.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Wow. You guys did a year of Crabrat.
Almost.
Did you make it to a year?
So that was the original plan. What happened was we were like a couple of months in when the idea came to our heads. And it was like, we can either wait 9 months to start the year of the Crabrat, or we can just round it off at 40, which 40 weeks, I felt like 40 was a nice round number. And we did it, 1 song a week for 40 weeks. It was exhausting. We spread ourselves pretty thin.
That's true. Yeah.
Ben had to draw like an animation for each one too, and I was mixing all the stuff. And so it was real busy for that year. And
it was a lot of work.
Yeah,
and it's you're really splitting hairs, 40, 52, either way, it's ambitious as fuck, you know what I'm saying? That's a lot of work, and it's quite the commitment. So you didn't do any gaps at all. There was no bye weeks. It was 40 straight weeks.
Yeah, it was 40 weeks. We at first our aim was at first to release them every Tuesday, because it started on a Tuesday. Which I did on purpose because New Year's Eve was on a Tuesday. So I was like, I want the last one to come out on New Year's Eve. So I'll start it on Tuesdays. Eventually it just got to the point where it was just once a week. And I was like scrambling on Sunday to try and get the song uploaded in time. But yeah, we made it every time. I don't think we were ever late. There was 1 week we had to re-upload. So it went up on time, but then we had to re-upload it late.
Right. That's pretty damn good, though. That's a fun little exercise anyway. So, I mean, as stressful as it was, I'm sure it was. I'm sure you learned a lot along the way.
100%. For me, it was all about, for the longest time, Ben and I have been rapping for, Jesus Christ, probably 15 years now or something stupid like that. But we don't have a whole lot of material to show for it. And largely that's because I for a long ass time, was a perfectionist to my own detriment, I wouldn't accept
Dr. Dre,
I guess, but I just couldn't. I felt like I couldn't achieve what I knew I was capable of, and until I could get there, I didn't want to put anything out. So now,
Dre. He is Dr. Dre.
I am Dr. Dre too. Yeah,
he is Dr. Dre. Yeah.
But now that was like the complete opposite. It was all about like, okay, I'm going to give myself this deadline, and what I'm able to come up with in that time is what is going to come out. So like I had to accept imperfections, which that was like completely freeing for me. Like I feel way better about, I'm happy to release songs all the time now. Like
that's kind of cool. So you took on a challenge that you knew was directly opposing to your bad habits, basically. Or like, oh, you're gonna make yourself just fucking put it out regardless if it's unfinished, like whatever, it's going out on that day. So then you guys, okay, hold on, let me just go back a little bit. When did you guys become Crabrat? Because I've known you both separately, right? And then I heard of Crabrat, and then I heard that Jack Shitt was in Crabrat, and then I saw a photo of Crabrat, and I saw the other member of Crabrat was my buddy Ben that I used to work with, you know, back in the day. And I see, you know, at shows and shit like that, and I knew that he rapped as well, and I knew that Speakeasy, but I didn't know that Speakeasy was the other half of Crabrat. So the whole timeline is really confusing. It's a small world thing. It's typical in these smaller towns and areas, you know, like there's a lot of weird degrees of separation there, you know, but it was a super funny kind of experience for me, the unfolding of finding out who Crabrat was. I'm like, oh, I know both of these guys, you know.
So
for a while I was telling people like I know one of the guys in Crabrat, you know, if I find out that I know all of Crabrat. So if you would break down for me like a little bit how you guys became Crabrat, and the name, how you picked the name, which I love and everybody loves, break it down.
Yeah, I think it was like a few months before we started the 40 weeks around. Yeah, and then we were just joking around because we hadn't been able to come up with a name for like years, and then with something about we're both cancers, right? Like we were sort of joking about like astrology and shit like that because I don't really believe in that stuff. I don't think James does either.
Yeah, you have a line on the album about how gullible are you? Yeah. That's a little astrology dig there.
Yeah, but that's exactly what happened. Like I think we might have even just been like freestyling or like just sitting around doing whatever. And we sort of just came to the realization that we were both born in the year of the rat, and we were both cancers. So then we were like Crabrat, and then that's where we came. And they're like, oh, we're Crabrats, jokingly. And I was like, wait, that's kind of cool sounding. I was like, yeah, Crabrat. Let's go with Crabrat. Because like for so long, like Ben and I have been making music for years. Not that we have tons of it, but like we just never came up with a name as a group that we liked, and we didn't want to just be Jack Shitt and Speakeasy. So like it just sort of naturally occurred, and it clicked in the moment, and Crabrat.
Yeah, that's a real dope name. So I didn't realize it was that recent of a creation.
Yeah, we were not Crabrat before 2019.
That's wild. Yeah, I didn't realize that. I thought maybe it was something that you guys had started back in the day, but never really recorded anything with it or never did anything with it, and now are finally taking it, you know. But that's pretty cool, man. No, it's funny you mentioned coming up with a name for a duet, because I love those videos you did with Jacob. Like, dude, you did some legit comedy acting, bro. Like, I fucking, like, you're funny, bro. Like, that was legitimate comedy acting. That was credible. Like, you do acting? Like, what's good with you, man? What's up with you? You always surprise me, bro. You're full of surprises.
That's funny. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. I did take drama in high school. I don't consider myself an actor, but yeah, Jacob and I, you know, we play off each other well. We had like a loose idea for both of those videos, and you know, there's probably 5 times more that's on the cutting room floor, right? So we were able to kind of
I'd watch it all, bro. I'd watch it all.
Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with those videos too. I'm glad you brought those up. That's really funny.
Yeah, when you busted out Steel Toe. Yeah, no, your chemistry there was fantastic. God damn. So Ben, bro, like, man, we worked together years ago, and fuck, years later we start seeing each other at shows and shit. Like, break down the timeline, man. Break down the gap for me.
It's funny.
Where did we go from working in the you're in the photo lab, I'm in the electronics department. Next thing you know, we're doing shows and shit.
What would that have been? I remember that too. Fuck, like early 20s? What was that, like 12 years ago?
Something like that. Yeah, it was over 10 years ago. It would have been before 2010.
Yeah.
Long ass time ago.
Walmart Photo Lab, is that what it was?
We were definitely hanging out and like rapping at like both our houses at the time. You know what I mean? Like I don't know about making that much music. And then I was overseas for a little bit, like teaching ESL in Korea and China for a little while. So that was kind of like we were still in contact. So that was kind of like trying to keep my writing up. Yeah, I came back here. I don't know. Like until we came up with the name Crabrat, things started just moving a lot faster than like instantly. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We finally had a group name and like a project to work on. Like I guess I was writing shit before that, but not too many shows or anything like that. And then like when did we probably started seeing each other around like downtown and Choom Gang, you know what I mean? Like a couple years ago, last like 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. Probably within the last 5 years or so, we really been hitting it hard. So
yeah.
It's crazy, bro. It's a small fucking world, and you're crazy. You're good, man. Like, it's like I was actually posting statuses like it's hard to work with your music because the lyrics keep distracting me from what I'm trying to fucking. Like, I'm trying to listen for the sounds, and I was just like, what the fuck was that? Fly a rocket ship to higher consciousness and kaleidoscopic bliss. What's going on here? Like. You're a madman, bro. Both of you, like I can't compliment enough, man. And the chemistry is obvious. Like you both are really magicians lyrically, but both have enough of a different style from each other that it doesn't sound like the same guy on the whole song, you know?
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks, homie. That was, appreciate that. And I wanted to say to you, you blew me away when we wrote Autumn those years ago because like I spent a whole shitload of time with my verse. Mine was done by the time you had heard it, and then you just in like 40 minutes, half an hour on your phone, just sitting there with the beat on. All of a sudden, you've got this fire ass 16 finish, and I was like, how the hell did he just do that? Like, I'm the complete opposite. I have to take so much time to perfect my verse. And it's like the idea, and even the idea of writing on a phone to begin with was already just like, what the fuck? How are you even doing that? And then I'm like, oh, if I was sitting there writing with you at that time, I'd have had like 3 lines finished by the time you had your whole verse done. So like,
oh man,
fire.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's so funny how like different people do it different ways, right? For me, like for whatever it is, like if I'm doing like a feature verse or I'm working with other people on a song, I'm really fast with it. But if it's a solo song where I'm just sort of like by myself in my room working on it, I'm the only one who's hearing it, like then I get a little more in my head and like have to rewrite things and whatnot. But for whatever reason, if I'm like in a room with people working on a song, like I fly, man. And yeah, I still write on my phone. I either type on my computer or write on my phone. I wish I was one of those like artsy guys who was like, I can only write with a pen and pad or whatever. But
book like fucking 30 years ago or something.
You know, I see like there was a phase where I went back to pen and paper for a while. I liked how I could like jot notes ahead of time. Like I could like finish bar 4 and have that structured on the page where it's supposed to go. But you can do that on Google Doc anyway. And you know what I mean? And now having everything on my Google Drive is just way too convenient. So like I haven't written anything with a pen and paper in years. Like maybe not years, but a long ass time, you know.
Yeah, and it's a lot less confusing to read it. Like if you know, pen and pad, if you have mistakes or whatever, you're scribbling shit, you're scrawling. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, where was I supposed to say that? Like,
it's like down the other wrong way of the page. You know what I
mean? Yeah, it used to blow my mind seeing like copies of Eminem's rhyme books and shit. Like that you ever see photos of his rhyme book?
Chicken scratch all over the place.
Like bars here, bar over here, like some like written diagonally, like some are upside down, and I'm like, I know the full verse, so I'm like looking at the page trying to piece together like where there's bars there that are thrown out and not in the song, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how do you read that? Like, how do you?
But you know that if he had to point out a particular line on that page, he'd be like, oh yeah, it's over here, down here between those two ones. You know, like it would just be like, it's almost one of those like visual learner things. You know what I mean? It's like you've got that like, it almost makes an image out of your lyrics. You know?
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
no,
know.
it's true. I guess it depends on your brain, right? Like,
Mm.
it's wild. Like, I look at like
You know.
I put like dashes and commas and spaces, and I press enter and like indent based on how long the pause is supposed to be, and I know in my head what that thing means, or like an ellipse, or like, but
Yeah.
somebody reading that would have no fucking clue, right? Like how long I'm supposed to be pausing there or whatever. So yeah, it's
I
funny.
think
Everybody's different, man.
Tone Deaf had like a thing online. I can't remember what he called it. He called it like the rhyme annotation system or something like that. He had like somewhere like he would have little symbols that he would write on his lyrics that would mark like what was a triplet, and like it would almost be designed to like tell you how you're supposed to deliver the lyrics, you know, like how you like similarly to how you would read music. I looked at it. I didn't find like I would benefit from it, but I could see how other people might. Like it's you know, like I personally I write my lyrics the way that I pronounce the words. So like if it's an ing word, but I'm pronouncing it as an in apostrophe, I write it as an in apostrophe.
Right.
But I also don't read for the most part. We kind of like near the end, I kind of gave some leeway on this, but like for the most part, I prefer to have my lyrics memorized when I'm recording. Like I feel like if you have them in here and there's no buffer between your eyeballs and the microphone, I just feel like you're able to deliver your verse in a more like, I don't want to say theatrical way, but like you're able to put more delivery. Yeah.
You could perform it, right? As
Yeah,
opposed to
exactly.
read it. I think
100%.
I think I agree 1,000%, but I rarely ever actually get to the point of memorization before I want to record it. Like I get so hungry to record it. Like I just love the thrill of recording something, and
Yeah.
I fucking get too hungry, and but sometimes I get in my head and I can hear it in my delivery that I'm like, I sound like I'm reading. I'm like, okay, that's still too new. Like you need to memorize it more so that you can actually perform it, so to speak, you know? So I agree 100%, but I rarely ever like allow myself the patience to get there, you know?
I think you're just getting it fresh though, you know what I mean? Like even if you're reading it, sometimes if you're going like really fresh off writing it, you might have that like, I don't know, in the verse still. So maybe it's like a little bit of a trade-off either way. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree on that too, because something like the autumn verse, like when I with you guys in the studio write that super fast, I have no issue recording that, right? But it's funny, man. It's
Well,
everybody has similarities and differences in their methods.
I do think there's something to be said for that too, though. Like it's like halfway between freestyling and writing. Like you're writing the whole verse, but like I feel like sometimes because I spend so much time over analyzing my verses, I may go too far to the point where it sounds forced or something like that. You know what I mean? Whereas when you're fresh, you've just written it, it came out, you know, organically, you're going to deliver it organically as well, and it's going to feel pretty natural. But like I compare that to like when you're watching somebody who's freestyling, who's like improvising, like legit freestyling, and they have that moment where they just happen to stumble into 2 or 3 lines that are just like mind-blowingly dope, and it just kind of worked out that way naturally. I don't think that there's a way to manufacture that. Like I don't think that you can capture that same spirit sitting there and writing and coming up with the best shit you can. Like there's something to be said of that sort of natural in the moment thing too, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And I find, you know, like same thing, like a lot of the best like group stuff I've done or like collaborations I've done has been like in the moment type stuff where you're like together and just like put on a beat and you just come up with some of the best shit, right?
Sure.
And then, you know, more my solo material, more of it is better when I have put more thought into it and whatnot. Like I almost have a different process with both. Like what did you guys do with most of your like your 40 songs that ended up becoming an album? Like were you guys together working on a lot of those? I imagine a lot of the time you had to do them separately. You couldn't always get together to do them, right?
Yeah. Well, I think most of them we wrote kind of on our own, like coming up with them, maybe hanging out together and then taking the idea home basically, right?
Yeah, for sure. We will sit down together and like conceptualize and like figure out what the song is about, figure out, you know, who's saying what at what time. and then we'll, you know, write them on our own. But we have like a shared Google Doc, right? So like I'll see his updates as they come in, and mine and stuff. So like, yeah, we do oftentimes write together as well. But like, I think that as far as the way that the songs would come together, it would be one of the two of us would kind of take the lead. We'd either write like the first verse or a chorus or something, or even just come up with the subject, and then the other person would follow the other's lead. So like if Ben wrote the first verse, I would do what I could to kind of match his pace and delivery and stuff like that, and kind of try to make a song out of it, you know?
Right. I think that's how a lot of music gets made in the modern era, you know, and it's a lot of fun as well. You know, that's like our Choom Gang album. That's like I would have loved to have gotten together the way we used to when we were younger for all of that. But you know, as you grow up, everybody has their own lives, and then it's like you have the ability to just record yourself at home and send your vocals over, or you know, wherever, and it just makes it so easy to just, you know, I started a song, you finish it off, and then the next thing you know, a whole song's done within like a day or two, you know, if you really have your mindset to it. So that can be a lot of fun too. And I'm sure you guys can both agree, like it's always exciting as a writer, rapper, whatever, to get that already started project and have like here's a concept already delivered to you, like you just got to finish it now. Like that is always so exciting for me, like getting sent an open collab or open verse. I'm like, perfect, I don't have to think of the concept. Like I could just go with what this person started, and that's like just so much fun, right? You just have fun with it at that point.
Yeah, 100%. That happened with one of the songs on our album. We have this one track called NWA, and this dude Ezza from Choom Gang like a fire ass hook and verse, and he just sent it over to us and gave us a bunch of motivation to write some dope shit. So
yeah, that is
I can relate.
Yeah, well, I'm really happy that made the album. So that kind of segues me into what I was going to ask you guys is how difficult was it condensing those 40 down? Like I know we talked a little bit about it as kind of you were firing you know, ideas at me and stuff for what I think. But like by that point you had already condensed it down to about, you know, 15, 20 kind of thing. Like that still is quite a bit of condensing. Did you guys have like a handful where you were already like, all right, forget about those ones? Like, you know, in your memory, it was just stressful getting those out and getting those together. Like, fuck those 12. We're picking out of these 30. Like, what was it?
I feel like there was like 5 or 10 that were definite no's, maybe. Not that I don't think we put in like, I don't know. Yeah.
I mean, we cheated a little bit, right? So like among those 40 weeks each of us did 6 solo songs. So there's 12 solo songs. Those by default were out. We weren't going to put any solo songs on the album. So
right.
And then we also knew, I think there was also 6 songs that had guest appearances. And we knew we weren't going to like pollute the album with guest features either. So we only wanted to keep one of those. I think we ended up with 2, but they were both worthwhile. So yeah. So once we narrowed it down, we were down to like, I think, what does that bring us to? I think we had like 24 true Crabrat, both of us on them, no guest feature group songs. And yeah, I mean, like Ben said, there was like probably like somewhere between 7 or 10 that were like, we definitely knew we're not going to be album cuts, or they were like, we have this other project in mind we might use them for. But yeah, so like by the time we got down to 20, that was when it was hard, because we were aiming for 10 to begin with, and then, you know, we got to a point where we had to like kind of debate over it and kind of figure it out, you know.
And then it was like based on the concept of the album too, you know. Like,
yeah, like I think what we landed on is perfect. Like it all flows together really nice now. It's like a short, like, you know, half an hour record, so like it's concise, but like you know, we trimmed all the fat for sure.
Yeah, and I think I said it to you privately, but like in the like film editing world, it's called killing babies, right? Like you gotta get rid of stuff that you love in order to get the project to what it really should be. You know what I mean? Like there's always going to be stuff you gotta
real world. You gotta kill some babies.
You gotta kill some babies. So like I always try to remind myself killing babies when it's like condensing a project down or whatever. But yeah, I think that from from what I've gone through, I love what you guys ended up with. So it's awesome. So the beats are the beats all locally sourced? I never really asked you about that. Like I know that a few of them are for sure, but are they all from guys locally around here?
They are, yeah, all of them
That's
are.
awesome.
And just on that subject of killing babies, that was a learning experience for me too, man. In the same way that being able to accept the imperfections in my final recordings, being able to accept that I can't keep every song I like, and just being able to, tell myself, you like this song, but it doesn't have to be on the record. You know what I mean? Like being able to allow myself that to say bye to that song and just cut it off there was like, I can do that too. Ben and I are way opposite on that. Like every single thing I write, I want to use for something. And Ben's like super happy to ditch a 16 that he wrote.
Yeah,
Anymore. You know what I mean?
I can just write something in a day that's just practice, but
yeah,
you probably end up with less.
I've gotten more like Ben lately. Like I'm more comfortable with the idea of, okay, that was just a practice song, Before I used to get like shout out to Pluto, my boy Pluto Han, who's been releasing fucking so much music. I was talking to him about that, and he's like, man, he's like, I can record and mix myself now. He's like, I just feel like a puppy getting excited and pissing everywhere, And that's kind of what I used to be like too. Like as soon as I got a song recorded, I was like, holy fuck, I need to put this out. I need to promote this. I need to like get some artwork done for it. I got to put it on SoundCloud. You know what I mean? And then after a while, I like force myself to like, okay, sit on this a little bit, work on the next thing, maybe the next two things, then go back to that, listen to it, see if you're still that excited about it, And then a lot of the times I end up being like, nah, I don't need to fucking put that out. That was just like a practice song, So like, and same with just written stuff that I don't necessarily record, but maybe songs I've just started writing. I'll go back to them to record them later and be like, okay, this was kind of just a practice thing. I don't actually need to lay this down, So I think I used to be more like Jack. Now I'm a lot more like Speakeasy when it comes to that.
Yeah, I got to figure that out. Like, because I don't want to release trash either, but like, I have an album I wrote like so many years ago. Like, it's probably over 10 years old, most of the lyrics at this point. But it was a concept album where a
lot of lyrics about George Bush and shit.
There's stuff like that on there for sure. I don't know if I say George Bush, but that's like when it came from, and it was inspired by a lot of that shit. And like it is like a super like a lot of like political shit, but it's a real album. Like everything like each song segues into the next and stuff. And I put like a lot of work into it, but now it's like so outdated. And I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like I still feel like I might put it out someday, but I just like I'm at the point where this can't be like my debut solo album. Like I have to I have to build up some credibility before I put out the old shit.
Yeah, it's got to be like a lost tapes.
Yeah, that's what it will absolutely be.
Yeah, well, I'm sure the world would like to hear that, man. So I gotta do this to you while we're on the subject of old Jack shit. Just for my people out west, man, because when I first went to Vancouver, you would tell people you're on the hip hop scene. I'm from St. Catharines, Ontario. Do you know Jack shit? Like it's crazy, man. So like, just talk a little bit, just for my homies out west, man. Talk a little bit about King of the Dot.
Yeah, no problem.
And your transition from doing that into making music, and if that's something that was challenging for you or what.
Yeah. So I love the time I spent doing battles with King of the Dot. Ben also did King of the Dot too, by the way. There's plenty of Speakeasy King of the Dot.
Oh shit, okay.
By the way,
I was no Jack shading King of the Dot.
But yeah, dude, it was great. It's crazy to me because like still to this day, like once in a blue moon, I'll still have someone walk up to me and be like, "You're Jack shit." I'm like, how do you even like? It's crazy to me. Like it's absurd to hear that. You know what I mean?
So cool.
But while it was happening, for sure, like I would bump into people. People would recognize me from King of the Dot and shit, Nick. It was pretty funny. But like, yeah, dude, like that was like, as far as the connection to music goes, you wouldn't think it, but like, I feel like I learned so much as far as just like structuring verses and building to a punchline and all that stuff. Like being a battle rapper for that long, like improved my emceeing and general writing ability like tenfold. You know what I mean? Like I'm so much better now than I was then, and that had like a huge part of it. But like I feel like what it was for me for like why I stopped doing it was like I felt like putting that energy towards writing songs made a lot more sense to me, and like because I'm so obsessed with it, while I was doing battling, I couldn't write songs too. You know what I mean? Like I was always thinking about my next battle, punchlines for this upcoming battle, or if I didn't have one, just like general ones. You know what I mean? So like it was so like hyper focused on battling that I kind of had pushed music to the side the whole time. You know, and yeah, so I loved battling. We also did we did this thing called the World Rap Championships. It was in 2007. We did like a 2-on-2 rap tournament, and that was like right before King of the Dot. Organic was actually even in that one, and that was so fucked up. It was like a 10-hour day in this like hot ass room in Toronto with like just black painted walls, and like where 6 teams of 2 just had to battle each other twice over that 10 hours, and it was just all freestyled, and it was like a miserable experience. You remember World Rap Championship?
It was a long, hot, miserable day, yeah.
How do you do a 2-on-2 are you both dissing both people?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
They still do them to this day. And I don't know if they're as popular now, but there's some like it's different, right? Like you can do some like back and forth tandem stuff, and there's like a little more like you can kind of work as a tag team, you know what I mean? Like it's the same as tag team wrestling versus a singles match, you know?
Right. With battle rap being a lot like wrestling anyway.
Yeah.
Entertainment.
Yeah,
Sure.
Absolutely. It very much is. It's a show, right? I like, I fully respect and understand the poetry and the art. Like they are some of the absolute best writers on the planet, not even just as far as rap's concerned, but like what they're doing with the English language is fucking remarkable, right? I don't think I just like to troll the fact that a lot of the times they can't transition to music, or like it's not making music, you know what I mean? Like it's not music, it's a totally different art form, you know? So I find a lot of battle rappers are like kind of aggressive people, and they want to be like, oh, you're fucking sissy ass rap, like it's like, well, no, I make music, like it's a different thing I'm doing, so it's kind of funny.
You're not gonna play like a battle when you're like driving down the on the highway trying to chill in traffic. You like put on a battle.
I love watching battle. I'm not gonna like try to chill out, like come home from work and like get my weed ready and put on a battle. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm putting on some music. Like it's a totally different thing. But like as far as the pen game, like I would never begin to take that away from battle rap. Like it's incredible stuff. Like what they're
100%.
doing. Unbelievable.
I think that a lot of that, as far as like not being able to make music goes, I think it's because you can only have so many like battle-y songs. Like you can only make so many songs that sound like a Cannabis track before they start sounding tired. You know what I mean? So like, you can have 1 or 2 of those on your album, but you need to have other concepts and other ideas for songs. And I think that's where a lot of battle rappers struggle, is they don't know what to rap about, because like there's probably a large handful of these like lyrical guys who don't want to make like trap music, or they don't want to like make songs about like your standard rap stuff, but they also don't have anything else to talk about. So it's like they can either do that, they can like do political shit, or they can like battle rap on on beats. And most of those guys I think find that I'm just writing like this anyway, I might as well just do battles. Like you're probably going to get more views battling for King of the Dot than you are putting out music,
Yeah, no, that's a very good point. And for the record, there definitely have been battle rappers that have made some great music. So before anyone jumps down my
right
on that one, I'm not saying as a blanket generalization, just saying that basically what you just said. Like it's a specific style, right? And you're coming up with punchlines, and you're not you're not doing choruses and stuff like that. You're not stringing together song structure. So converting to that, I imagine, can be difficult. Like, I think you did music before you were a battle rapper, right?
Yeah, I had a few like solo songs out. We were in a group before called Disgruntled Employees, which was like we had 3 rappers. So there was the 2 of us and one other guy, my buddy Tyler, by Illbred Versifier, and we had live instrumentation. A lot of it kind of inched its way into sounding like rap rock, but
yeah, that was a little close for comfort by the end.
Yeah,
it was fun. The whole thing was fun
for sure. And I had like solo songs. The funny thing is like a lot of my earliest shit, like in like the early 2000s, was like on message boards online. Like I had like audio battles online with people under the name Jim Reaper.
That is fantastic. The lead singer is Steel Toe. Jim Reaper, man. That's fantastic. Dude, message boards were the truth, man. That's a little known fact about me as well. I also came up on the message boards, and actually when you brought up the tone deaf thing earlier and the like the highlighting like couplets and triplets and all that, that's very similar to the rap message board that I was on. Which was D12 World and then became Rap Basement. Shouts out to everybody that was on there, wherever you are in the world now. In the battle forums on there were people that were like kind of the older heads that were like schooling people on like, okay, this is like a multi and this is like syllable structure and punchline. So, and then when people would get into, we used to do text battles. So there were audio battles and text battles. So when people would do text battles, they did start to get fancy with like the text formatting and stuff. Like you would put your multis in like bold or like put your punchlines in italic and shit like that. So, so that actually did help my pen game, like, as far as structure and that is concerned. So that, you know, that kind of segues into what you were saying about battle rapping kind of helping your pen game as well, with like, this is a punchline, this is a rhyme structure and whatnot.
Did anyone ever try to insult you by calling you a net C? He's a net C. All these internet rappers. Imagine being a rapper on the internet. What net a dork. C. I'm a real rapper. I don't rap on the internet.
Oh my God, bro. You just blew my goddamn mind, man. Right? Like, imagine the fucking attitude. Imagine the nerve to fucking these kids rapping on the internet. Come on, son. Now look at the world.
It's funny you say that, though, because similarly, like, learning about multis and like rhyme patterns and stuff, and that was where I heard people like articulate that for the first time.
Like there was like, no language there's still no language for that.
Like I you would hear it and you would not really realize why you thought one rapper was better or at rapping than another, but like little things like that, like just articulating techniques and shit, like being able to put things into words is so powerful. You know what I mean? Like it's like you can know something but not be able to tell somebody about it or explain what it is, and as soon as you can and you have that understanding of it, then you can really like start to learn and fashion it.
I'm having like psychedelic experiences right now, dog, because like I was watching the Midnight Gospel this morning, which is like Duncan Trussell has a cartoon which is basically his clips from his podcast animated by the guy who did Adventure Time into like fucking crazy acid trips. And the one I was watching this morning was blowing my mind, basically saying that like, you know, when the Bible says like in the beginning was the Word and the Word was God, and it's an oral tradition, like the whole idea of that is like it's explaining enlightenment. Like if you can put enlightenment into words, then that is God, because you can enlighten other people and pass on the tradition. So it's like when you can put something into words, it has power. And that was the topic of the whole episode that I was watching. Now you're kind of linking that in my mind to like the concept of like knowing what multis are, knowing what lines are, knowing what it's like. Had I not had the language for those things, and it's funny because like I've heard Eminem interviews where he's tried to explain multis, and he doesn't have the word multi because he never was on message boards.
For some reason, it's like
you know, he's like no,
lame
okay.
Word.
So I'm saying birthday and worse first place instead of just day and place. I'm singing, and the guy who's interviewing him's like trying to fucking figure out, and I'm going, Maltese. It's called Maltese, you know. And it's so funny. Like, had I not had that experience on message boards, like my whole like interpretation of what makes one rapper better than another, like I have a criteria for that now that's not just like arbitrary, you know. And by the way, you guys are fucking incredible at Maltese speaking.
Oh, thank you.
While we're talking about that, yeah, you guys are fucking magicians at Maltese, as a matter of fact.
Thanks, Obi. Appreciate that.
They're fun.
Yeah, for sure. Like that. It was like a, you know, I feel like for me, Eminem had a pretty significant influence on me in that regard. Like,
yeah,
before that, I was like super into Wu-Tang. Obviously, I'm still into Wu-Tang, but like, and they're all phenomenal rappers as well. But it was like in that time where Eminem was in his prime, where like anytime he would do a guest feature, it was like you could only fight for second place if you were also on that track. Not like that anymore, but like there was a time where he just kind of stood as like head and shoulders above his contemporaries. And like, that's not to say he pioneered it. Like you can go back to like Big Daddy Kane and Cool G Rap and all that shit. And they were doing it too. But like, it was just different the way he was like kind of like piecing it all together and like getting to these like crazy complex punchlines, and like it was just something different for that time. And then like so like my whole path is hilarious. It was like I got into Maltese as I like was really into Eminem, and then through like Napster I found his Rap Olympics stuff. And then that led to me learning about Scribble Jam and finding out about like Idea and Sage Francis and like Rhyme Sayers and all these other like underground rappers. And then like it just became this whole big thing for me, and all those guys are all super influential on me as well. Like, you know, fucking Napster, man.
Yeah, early internet. Yeah. And you were getting clowned for being a net C, man.
The fucking net C's, man. Nerds.
So Speakeasy, bro. There seems to be a psychedelic influence on your wordsmithism.
You know, that's funny. Like, I haven't really. I took, maybe in the past few years, there's been a few psychedelics taken, but for the most part, it was something that was more back when I was like younger. You know what I mean? Like early 20s, teenager. But I guess it definitely turned itself into a few lines here and there throughout the album. I don't know, maybe mostly on what the hell is the song again? Yeah, thank you.
Double Helix.
Yeah. I mean, the song was kind of like roughly based on that anyway, the whole concept.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm the same way. A lot of people assume because of my like content and stuff that I must be fucking tripping all the time. And I have a podcast called Ezza Trips Balls as well. Fair enough. But I'm the same way. Like it was something I did a lot when I was younger that, you know, in the last few years has maybe happened enough times I can count on one hand. But I would say that it's had a major influence on like the way that I write and stuff like that. You know, like would you say that it had any like having been to those fucking other places mentally has had that influence on your writing? You know, for me, I could say it definitely has.
You know, I don't know if it has. It's probably not something I actually think about that much, but it makes depending on what I'm writing about. So
I think that
at the moment I want to think that it does. You know, like
when I listen to your shit, I would say that it tickles that. You know, it tickles that part of my brain a little bit, you know, that's why I ask.
Yeah, I could probably get a little out there with the creativity, and there's a good chance maybe that I can thank psychedelics for some of that, you know, a little psilocybin.
I don't think that it's like something that's like needs to be consistently present though either, you know, like for me, I'm similar to you, Eric, like, and you actually said something on one of your earlier podcasts. I can't remember which one it was, but you were talking about how about why you haven't done them as much recently,
right?
And that being because what they taught you the time you did them, you haven't achieved those things since. And I'm the exact same way, dude. Like I had like the times when I was like in high school or fresh out of high school and I did mushrooms a bunch of times, like I had amazing experiences, and then all of a sudden there was one time I had like a really bad trip, and it was a bad trip because it was like, hey fucko, like here's all the things that are bad about you right now, and it really forced me to like kind of self-reflect. I don't think that I've fixed that many of those things since then, so like, I just feel like if I do them again, I'll probably just like cry in a corner or something. Feel like I'm
it's really great to hear
or something.
But you did self-reflect. You didn't fix the things. But
yeah.
Halfway there. That's pretty good.
But my greater point though is that like the earlier times were very enlightening to me, and like those, once that happens, like you've opened that, and that definitely would, I think, impact your writing, even if you don't realize it,
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, first of all, because it's great to hear somebody else say that, because that's my experience pretty much. That brings me to another thing I heard on that fucking awesome Duncan Trussell show. He said the metaphor for psychedelics was like it's an elevator that takes you from your regular floor up to the top floor. It opens the door and there's this incredible party going on, and the party's always going on, but you're just not always on that floor or whatever, and you see it and it sticks with you, and then you go back down to your regular floor or whatever, but you've always seen that top floor. Like even if you never go back there again, it still had some effect on you. Like you've seen something that not everybody on this floor has necessarily seen, and you can art is a great way to bring that through.
As a metaphor for success, you said? What was that the metaphor for?
No, it's a metaphor for the psychedelic experience.
Oh, man, I don't know why.
Yeah, you can still write songs about that top floor. You're not on that top floor right now, but you've seen it, and you can make art about it,
even if it's been years, right?
Yeah, so for sure.
And you can get it when somebody else makes art about it. You're like, I know what the fuck I know where you're getting at,
You just like starve yourself for a couple of days,
yeah, or don't drink any water,
Yeah, exactly.
Well, sleep deprivation, right? Like I feel like there's stuff about like sleep deprivation kind of sparking artistic creativity, right? Isn't there like a thing about like a dude, like I can't remember what it is, like he holds like a big ass key or something, and every time he falls asleep the key drops to the floor and wakes him back up, and he picks it back up again or something? Am I making this up?
That sounds like I gotta look that up. That motherfucker probably, whatever he like does, I'm sure he makes some crazy shit. Because even just when I was switching to the overnight shift, I'm telling you, bro, like I had some moments, man. I had some real moments, and I thought I was the sanest I'd ever been, and that's the trippy part, and but I was writing cool shit, but I was some social media stuff I probably shouldn't have done, but but as far as the artistic stuff, it was great. Sleep deprivation is definitely a weird psychedelic thing, but it's not the top floor, that's for sure. It's not the top floor, it's somewhere in the middle.
So I had to go, like I went on vacation last year or the year before or whatever it was, and I couldn't smoke weed because it was like out of the country and I was somewhere where you couldn't get weed, so I had to go like 10-14 days without smoking, which is really that's unusual for me. So I consider myself someone who has pretty good self-control. I'm like quite good at stopping myself from hitting send on that Facebook post about the fucking on the alt-right guys Facebook wall post, you know what I mean? Like I still have my times where I get halfway through it and I say, wait a second, what am I doing? And I
what am I participating in right now?
But while I was on that vacation though, and I wasn't smoking weed, that was also the time where like the kids in cages thing was happening with the border shit. And man, I couldn't stop responding to shit. I was just on a rampage that whole time. I was just like getting into it with people. So I don't know if that's just like,
that's a tough one though.
I'm irritable when I don't smoke or something. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
you too, right? Like
Sorry?
You need something to distract you, right? Like
Yeah. Well, I was on vacation though, so it's not like I'm talking like I'm at the hotel at the end of the night. You know what I mean? Like, but
This man was just fucking on the beach, like sipping drinks all day. You get so like, oh, motherfucker.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Thing
I
happening.
don't know. I wasn't having it.
Yeah,
People
no,
defended it,
I've can definitely attest to that. I've had some experiences where I've had to not smoke weed for a few days for whatever reason, and I don't know. Maybe we should be ashamed to say that, but like, honestly, just things that I was convinced were necessary for me to fucking, put my 2 cents on. The minute I smoked weed again, I was like, what the fuck? Like, what are you thinking? Like, just chill, like chill out, It's kind of funny, man. It's kind of funny. I think some people just need weed, it's better than needing something else,
Worst things
it is.
Yeah. And I could see it also being like a light version of withdrawal symptoms, like if you're a frequent everyday smoker, you're going to feel irritable for, having to go 4 or 5 days without all of a sudden, like I don't think that, I don't know, like if I was on vacation for 6 months, maybe I would have maybe I'd have chilled out after a while.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
I don't know. Who knows?
Did you have any crazy dreams?
Yes.
I found, the dream thing is pretty universal, eh?
Yeah. It's weird. It's like, it's almost like, is weed a dream suppressant? I don't know. Like I don't.
You think it shouldn't be, right? But
yeah.
Or you have them anyway, I guess, but you don't remember them.
I think it might be that. I think maybe you're just like, because your short-term memory would generally probably be better not smoking weed, right? And I don't know if maybe waking up from a dream is maybe something in your short-term memory, because dreams are apparently only a couple minutes long or whatever, right? Even though they feel like a lot longer. But yeah, I remember like just like weird fucking dreams, just like that felt enough. They were real enough to be real, but they just weren't. Yeah, it's fucked.
Yeah, your body's probably like a little bit of that withdrawal, right? You get those dreams that are just feverish.
Yeah. I always felt weird about the idea of like having dreams that you don't remember. I mean, does that even count? How can you quantify having a dream that you don't remember? You know what I mean? Like, to me, it's only a dream if you remember it.
Yeah.
What about things once you forgot them, right? Like when, like, you're old and you don't remember big chunks of your life, like chunks not count anymore. I don't know. Like it's a weird.
That's fucking crazy.
No, but I mean, you asked a good question. Like that's a really damn.
Just a different version of if a tree falls in the forest,
Oh man. Oh man.
That was good. Fuck.
Well, that's fucking I had to have a couple good little mind blowers on this Crabrat episode of Ezza Trips Balls. We're at almost the hour. I just because this podcast has run concurrent with the COVID-19 pandemic, I've been very proud of myself for avoiding the subject for the majority of the last few episodes. But I do like to do a little COVID check-in, make sure everybody's good, make sure everybody's happy and healthy. How has this experience been for you boys? I know we're living in the same city, so we probably have similar experiences. But if anyone has anything to share, now's the time.
It's my first time hearing about it.
It's a part of what's going on?
What is it, like people sick or something?
Yeah. No, it's history, man. It's history.
Yeah, it's wild. I'm good, thank you. And I'm a bit of a homebody anyway, so like.
Yeah, me too.
It's still different. Like I've avoided. I don't eat out as much anymore, and like I'd like to be able to go to the Merchant Ale House if I could once in a while and grab a pint. But
you can still take out beer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I got a growler in the kitchen.
Growl.
No.
Yeah. Drink it and growl.
Yeah. But yeah, it's crazy. I feel like I have no idea. In my completely professional opinion, I feel like it's gonna last for a long time. It just feels like I don't know. Yeah, it just feels like it's like gonna be one of those things that stick around for a bit.
I don't see the horizon on this thing right now. I don't.
Here's what. Okay, help me out with this. Okay.
I think.
Sorry, I missed that, Ben.
They think there'll be like 3 or 4 different peaks, right? Like it'll go up. We'll be able to.
That's fucking horrifying, man.
hang out again and the social distancing, and then we'll probably have to do it again a couple times. But I don't know. It's all like predictions, right? It's so to predict something we never experienced before.
They've been wrong about most of the predictions so far. So
well, it's hard, right? And
I'm so confused by
one thing like Fox News will do, for example.
They're reliable, those guys.
Yeah,
they've been proven. They shouldn't be taken off the air at all.
They're not even. I think they're not even registered as a news company, right? They're like an entertainment company, but they'll be like, "Oh, look at the predictions weren't even right. They like there weren't actually as many deaths as they said, and blah blah blah. There weren't as many hospital beds needed." But it's like, yeah, but you can't fucking accurately predict these things. You predict it, and then you do things like social distancing so you don't get that high. So it's all right. It's not a bad like prediction because it was wrong, right? Because you did the things to try not to get to the point of the prediction. So it's like, it's a misunderstanding of how the things work. And you can't even fully accurately predict that shit anyway. So just like it's one example. But this is like you were saying about the fucking kids in cages, right? It's just like too easy to fucking fall into the internet.
I mean, because it's such a like, it's easy to get emotionally invested in it. You know what I mean? Like, it's exactly. So it's bigger than us. You know, like it's wild to me. But like, yeah, I feel so, and I can't say that I've like gone out of my way to read. In fact, I'd say I've avoided it. I don't read much about it. I know it's around, and I just kind of, you know, it feels out of my hands. I take the precautions I can. You know, I do the shit. I wash my hands all the time and whatnot. Don't touch my face, that, you know, the basic shit. But like I'm so like befuddled by all the information, you know, like it's like you scroll down your Facebook wall and it's 90% COVID shit. And it's just like, you know, well, maybe not. Okay. That's an exaggeration, but still like a whole bunch of COVID shit.
A lot.
And it's like,
and it's all different.
It lasts this long on plastic. It lasts this long on metal. It's airborne. It's not airborne. Like, I have no idea anymore. And I'm just like, I'm just going to hope for the best, I guess. You know, like,
all you can do is cover yourself, like take care of yourself, man, and the ones around you, and hope for the best, man.
The part I'm struggling with is like the whole like 10-day thing. So like, if you go 10 days in self-isolation, and that's enough for you to determine that you don't have it or whatever, you know, you're not showing, maybe I'm oversimplifying it again, but like, then after 10 days, day 11, you go to Walmart or some shit. Now you're back at day one again, right? Because now you could have picked it up at Walmart and now you got to wait 10 days, you know, like, how does it work? I'm kind of struggling with that a bit.
I guess, I don't know. Be careful after that 10 days.
It's the rules are strange, right? And it's like I have to deal with a lot of government regulations at work, and I'm sure a lot of people that run businesses and stuff have to deal with a lot of government regulations, but now we are all dealing with government regulations on a mass scale for our own safety, you know, and perhaps that's what brings out a lot of the you know, the tinfoil hats and whatnot.
Yeah.
I want to say, fuck, you know, they're just trying to control us, you know, but because it is, you know, it's hard to keep track, and it does seem to keep getting more and more like, you can't do this, you can't do that. You hear stories, people getting fined for stuff that, like, well, is that breaking a rule? Like, you know, aren't you allowed to go shoot hoops by yourself or whatever? You know, there's all sorts of weird stories out there. It's just so hard to keep track.
That would be a stupid fine to get, right? Wouldn't it? I don't know.
I feel like I'd be pretty upset, you know.
Shooting hoops by myself,
at face value, to me, it seems absurd that you'd get fined for playing basketball on your own. But at the same time, I've never tried looking up why they, like, I guess if you have to treat all parks the same, and the idea is if you let one person in the park, then you have to let 1,000 people in the park if they want to go.
Right. That's fair.
I don't know, but like I try to always
the angle. It's kind of.
But I still feel like, I don't know what cop is out there being like, yo,
I guess
go bust Joe shooting 3-pointers, you know, like,
be a dick or be like, get out of here, you know.
God damn, how is this Nova Scotia shit, man?
Oh yeah, fuck, man, that's tragic.
That's fucking bananas, dude. Every time I hear a new detail about that, I'm fucking flabbergasted, man.
just like a trouble, crazy person. You know?
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be any idea of a motive, or just like he's just pissed at his girlfriend and just goes on a fucking rampage.
So he posed as a cop, right? Like he dressed up as a cop and drove like a car that was made to look like a police vehicle. Is that accurate?
Yeah, well, essentially, I kind of read they did a big press conference that explained the whole timeline of things today, and it was basically like he's at a party with his girlfriend. They get into a fight at the party. There's a bit of a scene, so they leave. When he gets home, he fucking ties her up and beats her up and, assaults his girlfriend, doesn't kill her, leaves her there, sets the house on fire, goes back to the party and kills 7 people that were at this party. And then from
Jesus.
there goes on a big rampage. So at that point, somebody called the cops because they heard gunshots, right? And that's when the Nova Scotia cops put out a thing like, oh, there's firearms complaints, like stay out of the area kind of thing. Nobody had known there was people getting murdered and shit. So the cops set up a perimeter around this fucking town, and he gets out with a cop car because they think it's another cop just leaving the area, so they let him fucking go. They don't find out till fucking like 8 hours later when his girlfriend gets out of the fucking basement and calls 911 like, yo, this guy fucking has 3 replica cop cars. And they're like, Jesus Christ, we probably let this guy go hours ago.
Jesus.
Right? And then they start getting phone calls from towns hours away, like, this person just got shot while they're walking down the street. A car just pulled up on them and shot them. A cop just pulled over somebody and shot them. Like, fucking rampage for like 12 hours, man. Like,
So
I've never heard anything like it.
How many people did he kill?
I believe the number is 23 now.
Jesus.
And it was
just went on a drive and just picked off 23 people, man. That's wild.
And some of them were people he knew, and some were strangers. Like the towns he was going to, like he would visit the houses of people he knew and just kill whoever was in the house, and then start like picking off people walking down the street and shit. Like, and this guy was just like a normal fucking dude. Like he was a denturist, like no fucking crazy Nazi paraphernalia in his house or anything that we're aware of yet. Like, just
found any yet?
Not yet. Well,
and just found a secret bunker under the house yet.
That's in Canada. I was scared of the stuff that would start happening in the States with people getting locked down and all the different beliefs and whatnot going on down there. And people are already crazy as shit, and there's fucking more guns than people. So when something like that happens in Canada, in a place like Nova Scotia, no less, it's like a real big, like, oh my God, like you really gotta.
I think I saw some Facebook post about it. Like, if he had a bunch of replica cop cars, and I guess he had some like obsession with cops too, and a bunch of guns. Like, that's a little bit of a.
That's kind of a red flag, I guess. Yeah.
With like a gun fanatic is a bit of a.
And you're not a cop, yeah.
For sure.
Are there still new details coming out now, or like is it just sort of like trying to figure out why? Like, he didn't leave a note or anything, right? It was just
they did say there was no note, but there is still, like, basically all they've released is like a pretty vague timeline of like, he killed this many people at this location at this time, and then this many people at this location at this time, and then burned down such and such properties. But there's still no like real explanation of like any idea why, but all the people that have sort of spoken to the media that knew him is the same as all mass shootings. Like, oh, I didn't think anything of him, like he seemed pretty normal, like,
Has there ever been an instance where like a mass shooter, like, I figured this was going to happen eventually. This guy was always being an ass.
I'm so glad I was nice to that guy. I fucking called it.
Like, it's never like, you never hear that. Like, never, the interview never goes, I figured it was coming eventually,
Yeah, no, that's what's scary, right? It's like the people that do things like set a cat on fire or whatever, you see them coming a mile away, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the real big things, people that take out 20 people, 30 people, they seem to always just be regular fucking people, It's like, what the fuck?
Like, there was some that people said there was some like warnings about before. I can't remember. I'm not gonna say the specific names because I can't remember some. Maybe I'm just talking out my ass, but I feel like there's been some mass shootings that the people interviewed were like, yeah, there was a call to the cops, but maybe nothing was ultimately done about it.
It's possible. There are so many mass shootings now that it's fucking yeah.
He was
Unfortunately,
always saying he was gonna kill Carol Baskins.
Fuck, how about that show? Holy shit!
You guys have both watched that?
I have.
Yeah. I'm not trying to turn the conversation to another Tiger King talk. I just thought it was appropriate.
It's for the next.
Yeah, I know. Much love to Nova Scotia, but yeah, to lighten things up a little bit before we end the podcast. So we're all in the camp that she did kill her. Does anybody doubt it? Is it like a Epstein killed himself thing? Like everybody's just like, yeah, she killed him. That's what happened.
Not like it with like the sheriff's talking and shit though. But I don't like Tiger. What the fuck is his name?
Joe Exotic.
Yeah, Joe Exotic. I was gonna call him Tiger Joe for a sec, but
Tiger Joe.
Tiger Joe. So Tiger Joe. When that fucking kid, that whatever, like 19-year-old, the kid that died, and it was at his funeral with his mom, and he was saying the shit about like his balls and shit. I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like, if you guys. Yeah, I'm probably.
I know people are really sympathetic. Like people seem to be like universally sympathizing with this fucking guy who like.
Yo, that part right there, I was like, fuck this guy. Like,
yeah, and just obviously the animals thing obviously rubs you the wrong way to begin with, but you're almost willing to give him a pass because he's kind of the lesser of two evils in a way. Is he? I don't know. Like he might be the lesser of two evils.
If let's say Carol didn't kill her. Let's say she just didn't do it. It was something else. I think other than that, she's probably better than the other.
No, that's probably true. That's probably true.
Where she killed her husband, that's fucked up. You get away with something like that. So.
Yeah, but the as far as being like a crude backstabbing business person like the rest of them, she's definitely just as bad.
Yeah.
Or worse in the sense because she has a holier than thou attitude about the whole thing and is not honest with herself about the fact that she's essentially doing the exact same thing.
I don't know if I got enough information from the documentary. Is her like is the environment for her tigers like as not any better? Is it better than the other one? Like.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right about that. The podcast did lean like very quickly into like, by the way, she does the same shit, and then it kind of leaned out of it. It didn't really. Yeah. You and your facts, Ben. You're turning this into a professional podcast here.
I didn't get contacted.
It's like I didn't really get all the facts from that documentary. You know what? You're right. You didn't. You're right. That's true. They did kind of make her look pretty bad there.
Yeah.
I think that like. If there wasn't the whole thing about like adding disappearance to the will,
it's sketchy.
That if that wasn't there, I'd probably be like, Carol probably didn't.
That is a weird one. Even the guy who was, he was like, I've never seen disappearance in a will before.
Yeah. Now maybe that's not true. This is like one lawyer, dude. Maybe if we asked 10 other lawyers, they'd be like, yeah, lots of people would word it as disappearance instead because it covers more things. Like I don't know. Like I have no idea, but it's just as easy for me to believe that, the husband skipped town and, took a big chunk of his money and went to go live on an island somewhere or some shit, like.
Yeah. But for me, it was the disappearance thing and the fact that his family seems pretty convinced it was her,
Yeah.
Like his, I don't know, I forget what family members he had there, but all those women, I believe it was his ex-wife, the mother. Maybe she's just bitter and hates Carol because it's his ex-wife. But I think it was his daughters as well. All seem pretty convinced that she had something to do with it.
Restraining order, right? I think he didn't he put out a restraining order?
Yeah, and he had been talking to people like she's gonna fucking, I gotta get out of this relationship or she's gonna do something to me, kind of thing. But again, that's all fucking hearsay, right? None of that is admissible in court, so it shouldn't be admissible on the Ezza Trips Balls podcast either. But something's off with that woman. There's no question about that. She's definitely a little off. But all those fucking tiger people off. My favorite line in the whole thing is in the first episode when I forget who said it, but they're like, "Oh, the monkey people, they're a little bit off, but the big cat people, they'll slit your fucking throat. They're fucking." And then madness pursues from there.
Like, holy shit.
Can you imagine, though, Carol Baskins is just some lady who lost her husband and now has the entire internet saying she killed her husband who she lost?
Hey.
She never, I will say, though, she never seems like she's sad about it. You know what I mean? Like,
no, and she does seem to enjoy that money, doesn't she? She does seem to enjoy the fuck out of that money. Yeah. So
I can't imagine she's thrilled about it, though, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like real life Trailer Park Boys, man. Like if you put Joe Exotic into Trailer Park Boys or some other TV show and just he was a fictional character who was kind of a little over the top and exaggerated, totally believable. Like watching like I felt like I was watching a character the whole time, you know, like
yeah, I think that's why people love it so much, right? It's just that motherfucker is just a special kind of person, man. My girlfriend accidentally called it The Lion King. And I was like, what are you talking? It's like, oh, I heard there's a new Lion King.
That's already
like, what? It never dawned on me how close those two things are. Like Tiger King and Lion King are two extremely different fucking things. That's
not a lot of overlap there.
No, very little. Very little. I think
somehow bring them together. Right?
Yeah, Joe Exotic is almost more of a fictional character than some of the characters in The Lion King.
Wow, that's deep. That's deep.
Yeah, it is. And on that note, I think we'll start to wind her down. I do want to give you guys a chance to do a little. Well, the thing is, you know, I did want to mention as part of the COVID talk, like you guys had been doing some shows, right? Like you guys had been performing quite a bit. So like, how has it affected you that way?
We had a few shows coming up that were canceled, right? One in March, one in April.
Rescheduled, or maybe canceled. I don't know. I guess we don't know, right? But right now they're rescheduled for June and July at this point. But you know, obviously we'll see what happens. But it feels like that probably will need to be rescheduled.
At least reassessed at the very least. Yeah. So when's the album dropping? What do you guys got to plug? Where can people check out your Year of the Crabrat stuff, and when can they look out for the album? And does the public know the title of the album yet?
Yes. So the album's going to go up very soon. Like we're going to be uploading it probably or sending it off to the label this weekend, and then. But it'll probably go up very soon after. I think intended to put it out in February to begin with, so the sooner the better at this point. It's called The Cancer. It's called The Cancer and the Plague. That was the title of the album before we had a plague. That was just a coincidence that happened. It's not our fault, so I don't act like we caused it either.
You bastards.
We're not in the Illuminati, right?
Yeah. So we uploaded the cover art like a couple weeks ago, and it's called The Cancer and the Plague. That'll be coming out very, very soon on all of the streaming platforms. And for the Year of the Crabrat stuff, that's on SoundCloud, Bandcamp, and YouTube, either under Crabrat or The Noble Crabrat. And we got 40 songs. We took 10 of the best ones, had somebody who's much, much better at mixing named Ezza make them sound passable. And now we have an album on our hands that we're excited to share with you all.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited for it to be shared as well, man. It's great. It was a pleasure working on it. And it was a pleasure having you guys on the show as well. It's fucking awesome. Any last words, Speakeasy?
Yeah, I got nothing, man. It was a pleasure being on.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, brother. I really appreciate both of you, and all the best. And hopefully once this whole thing passes, we can get some shows going, and I'd love to come out and do NWA with you guys.
Hell yeah. Looking forward to it, man. And awesome. Thanks so much for the work you put in. You made us sound way better. Like I can't, like, it's hard for me to listen to some of the older versions of those songs now. I'm like, oh God, I can't believe I allowed this.
I'm glad to hear. That was my goal. So I'm really glad to hear it, man. And again, it was an honor, man. So really looking forward to when that comes out.
Sweet. Thanks again, man.
Much appreciated, boys. Thanks a lot. One love.
About to take a plane to another plane, to another plane, to another plane, bumping back and not nice while I'm trapping in the rain.